So let's start by diving into courses. Alyssa, I'm going to ask you to set the scene for us, and I'm putting you on the spot here. But what are the latest and greatest releases from the last 6 to 12 months?
Absolutely. And hi, everyone. A lot of what we've delivered recently has been driven very directly by regulatory change. So we've responded to major developments like the Employment Rights Act, which, as Shmuley mentioned, we've got a webinar coming up on soon, the Data Use and Access Act, making sure that there's clear practical training available as those changes come into force and as guidance develops. We've also been responding to new and sector-specific requirements, including the NHS has now mandated training around anti-racism and anti-Semitism training, which has led to the release of one of our new anti-Semitism courses. Alongside those more regulatory-driven updates, we've also had a number of other key focuses for the team. So we've recently just released a big number of fire safety courses. So we've got I think 5 to 6 new fire safety courses have been added to our library, including updates and design refreshes to the rest of the fire safety topics with a big focus on real world risk. Another important area to our recent content development has been around our SRA content. So we've released 5 new courses focused around SRA ethics, the SRA code of conduct, and similarly to fire safety, we've done a review of the whole fire safety content, the whole SRA content area, to give clear, more specific, more applied guidance. Beyond those big headline areas, we've continued to roll out a steady stream of smaller targeted updates across the library, which included some very specific health and safety content, as well as ongoing refreshes to just make sure that our training is accurate, is relevant, and ready to use.
So that's a lot of content that we've launched in a few short months. Can you
Absolutely.
start talking us through how you're thinking about the course roadmap and what we're planning on releasing for the rest of 2026?
Absolutely. So when we're thinking about our roadmap moving forward for 2026, we're starting less with sort of individual courses and we're thinking really big picture. We keep coming back to a few core questions. What risks are organizations actually facing right now? Where is regulation changing in a meaningful way? And how can we help move beyond training as a tick box exercise into something that's genuinely changing behavior? And those questions were sort of sitting at the forefront of our mind when we were thinking about building out our roadmap for 2026 and the courses we wanted in it.
Perfect. So I think those are very relevant larger themes. What are the tactical drivers which are shaping how this applies to the roadmap itself?
Perfect. So there are 3 big drivers behind it. The first, unsurprisingly, is regulatory change. We're seeing significant movement across areas around financial regulation, cybersecurity, AI, non-financial misconduct. Those have been driven through changes to the FCA conduct rules. There's an upcoming review of the senior managers and certification regime. There's new cybersecurity resilience legislation in both the UK and in the EU. And AI, as I'm sure everyone's aware, has been rapidly evolving and has been shifting in the regulatory landscape. So our team's constantly horizon scanning and watching that space specifically to see if we need to add any regulatory driven content into the library. And that's a core focus for us. The second is relevance and realism. So learners need to be able to recognize risk when it shows up in real situations, not just understand law in theory. And so that's why we're investing heavily in scenario and judgment-based questions and training and applied learning across our entire library. And the third is learning effectiveness. So we're increasingly focused on how confident people feel when they're talking about these concepts, how well they can identify risk when they're presented with it, and whether those learning objectives are actually being met rather than sort of relying purely on a final assessment score. So that's also part of driving our roadmap forward.
Perfect. And practically, how do you think that's going to translate to actual content that's going to be released or refreshed over the next year?
Perfect. In practical terms, it means major updates across key topic areas like FCA, cybersecurity, AI, mental health, bribery, and cultural awareness, with multiple new course releases in each of those specific areas. We're talking refreshed video, new courses, strengthened course material for the content that already exists within those topic areas. We're also developing new courses aligned to emerging expectations, so such as the non-financial misconduct rules, cyber resilience, and continuing to expand industry and role-specific content to that affects the reality of different sectors. Alongside that, we are continuously reviewing and updating courses across the library. As that legislation changes, as guidance develops and enforcement evolves, we are continuing to make updates to those courses. We've continued to do that. So, for example, the Employments and Workplace Training, following the Employments Rights Act, following the Data Use and Access Act, following the Economic Crime and Corporate Transparency Act. All of the courses in those relevant topic areas have been continually kept up to date as those guidance and then enforcement has updated. So clients don't have to track everything themselves. We are doing that for you.